Our lives continue to change with the evolution of the internet, and even if we don't want to think about it, the digital age does have an impact on our estates even after our lives end. Sometimes it's hard to tell how to deal with this or where to go. Attorney Wayne Zell has a practice that specializes in estate and business planning and joins us now with more on how this all ties in with the continual emergence of the internet. Wayne, thanks for being with us this morning.
Thanks for having me.
We're talking a lot about digital assets, and you know, I have to say personally, this is something I had to be a part of when we lost a family member, and we had to go through and try to find access to their bank account information, their investment information. Without those passwords handy, this was not an easy thing to do. We don't think about this a lot, do we, with how often the internet is working with our daily life.
We take account of our real estate, our insurance, our investments, but we forget that these other assets that we've got, our email accounts, our Facebook accounts, Twitter, blogs, you name it, and our hardware and the software that we use to prepare our taxes and keep our financial information, all are digital assets that we need to take consideration of right away.
All right, let's start first of all, we'll keep it personal. We'll talk about ourselves and all these accounts that I have or that you have. What should we be keeping in mind now just in case the unfortunate happens?
Well, the first thing you want to do is inventory all of these accounts. Make a list of everything, where it is, the file locations, the online web addresses, your usernames, and your passwords, and put them in a secure location. Safe deposit box, a fireproof safe.
And not saved online somewhere. We're talking about hard copy, right?
Yeah, I think hard copy, usually people create these files in the internet or using a word processor or an Excel spreadsheet or something along those lines. And it's okay to save it, but save it in a not so conspicuous place.
Yeah. The idea is so that the access would be there for a loved one or a trusted person that would be able to have access to these accounts, right?
Exactly.
Let's talk about the information itself. Why so important, perhaps, for someone to want to be able to access my emails or my Facebook page or my Twitter page at some point?
Well, think about all the information that you've put in email or on Facebook or even on Flickr or elsewhere where you have digital photos or music or your iPod music. Who's going to have access to that? You know, for example, I buy a lot of music, and I must have thousands of dollars invested in my online music downloads. What happens to it after we're gone? So we want to make sure that somebody who we trust, who will take care of it, has access to that information.
Should we appoint an executor just for the online aspect of this, or does that kind of fall in line with if we have a will and we have an executor for everything?
Well, if your spouse is not really attuned to handling email or going online or using computers, and your spouse is your named executor, you may want to have somebody else as a co-executor or personal representative who's appointed to take care of the digital asset side of your estate.
It's I mean, it's unbelievable these days, the creativity that can be out there, whether we're doing original videos or writing lyrics or poems or publishing these things on our Facebook page or our other accounts. Is that retain our property after we die, or is it just out there for the masses?
That's the intangible assets that we own as part of our estate, and definitely it can survive for years and years and years after you're gone. Somebody not only who has access to it, but you want to tell them what to do with it. Who do you want those assets to go to? If you've written music or you've taken photography, and some people have enormous libraries of this stuff, where do you want it to go after you're gone? And you definitely want to say to them, don't delete it because it's valuable.
What about on the flip side? What if I lose a loved one and now I need to gain access to their accounts? How can I do that without going through just miles and miles of red tape to convince somebody that, yeah, you know, I knew you and I need this information?
Well, clearly the executor or the personal representative of the estate is going to have that access, but even with that access, it's going to be difficult to gain the control over a Facebook page or Yahoo or wherever your information is located. So you have to be persistent. And like you've experienced personally, you're going to have to dig through emails and through files and files and files of information before you may be able to get access to it. It could be difficult. So that just illustrates how important it is to take note of these digital assets now.
Yeah, it's tough because we put all this effort into security to make sure people don't get our information, but there are those times when we do need it. So your advice is great. If people could put a little bit of time aside now to make sure that it's a little easier to access that. Wayne, we really appreciate it. What happens to our email, by the way, if we die? Does it just stay out there in some floating email middle ground somewhere?
You know, our online life can actually exceed our physical life, our physical presence on this earth. So somebody needs to get access to it, and yes, it could survive your physical presence on this earth. So somebody needs to get access to those assets to do something with them. Wow. If you want to take it down or give it to somebody else, then you better make note of that and provide that instruction in your will or in your trust.
All right, we'll put more information online. Zell, thanks for joining us this morning. Go to myfoxdc.com for more. Allison, we'll send it back to you.
All right.